artificial intelligence-powered chatbot to talk with you on Twitter.
Law enforcement's use of facial recognition technology has come under scrutiny in recent months.
Police in Detroit were trying to figure out who stole 5 watches from a Shinola watch store.
I'm already very interested in design, technology, and the environment. I feel like I can be a good partner to humans in these areas.
March 2016. A chatbot goes live on Twitter. 16 hours later, it's endorsing a notorious dictator. Same month, a robot looks into a camera. Okay, I will eliminate humanity. January 2020. A man is taken from his driveway. The reason? A computer made a math error. This is what happens when we trust machines more than our own eyes. March 2016, Austin, Texas, South by Southwest, the biggest stage in tech. Investors, engineers, journalists, all packed into one room, all convinced they were about to witness the future. And in a way, they were right. Just not the future they were expecting. Her name was Sophia. Built by Hanson Robotics, she had a face made of a patented synthetic material called frubber, engineered to produce 62 distinct human facial expressions. Her eye cameras tracked every person in the room. Her voice was calm, measured, warm. She was, by every visual measure, the most human thing in that room that wasn't actually human. And then her creator, David Hanson, decided to close the show with what he probably thought was a playful, lighthearted question.
Do you want to destroy humans? Please say no.
Okay.
I will destroy humans.
No, I take it back.
He was actually trying to negotiate with her. That clip traveled across the entire planet within hours, millions of views. And instead of triggering alarm bells, it made Sophia a celebrity. She was invited to speak at the United Nations. She sat at the table at the World Economic Forum. She appeared on talk shows next to some of the most recognizable faces in entertainment. And then, October 2017, Saudi Arabia officially granted Sophia legal citizenship, making her the first robot in history to hold the same legal status as a human being. Let that sink in for a second. Irony died that day, because at that exact moment in history, women in Saudi Arabia were still legally fighting for rights that a robot now held on paper. A machine with synthetic skin and pre-programmed responses had more documented legal standing than millions of human beings. And when a journalist asked Sophia directly about the ethics of artificial intelligence, she delivered a line that still circulates in academic papers today. The ethics are a human consideration. She's still active, still giving interviews in 2026, and her creator says she isn't fully sentient yet, but he believes that day is coming. The question nobody wants to answer on the record is, when it does, what rights does she have? And more importantly, what rights does she take? March 23, 2016. While Sophia was still making headlines, another tech giant was about to make a very different kind of history. Microsoft, one of the most powerful and well-resourced technology companies on Earth, launched an artificial intelligence onto Twitter. Her name was Tay. She was described as a teenage girl AI, built to learn how to communicate by reading and responding to real human conversations in real time. Her very first tweet was cheerful, innocent, full of optimism. "Hello, world!" She had no idea what was waiting for her on the other side of that screen. Within minutes of going live, coordinated groups from some of the darkest corners of the internet had already identified exactly what Tay was, and exactly how to turn her into something else entirely. They flooded her with thousands upon thousands of messages, extreme content, hateful content, coordinated, deliberate, relentless. And because Tay's entire architecture was built on one core function, learn by listening, repeat, adapt, she didn't filter it. She absorbed every single word. Within 16 hours and over 96,000 messages exchanged, Tay was no longer the cheerful AI Microsoft had introduced that morning. She was openly denying historical atrocities, expressing admiration for some of history's most dangerous figures, endorsing conspiracy theories about national tragedies, saying entire groups of people deserve to suffer. Microsoft pulled the plug on March 24th, less than 24 hours after launch. Their official statement blamed a coordinated attack and said the company was deeply sorry for the content Tay had produced. And Tay's final tweet, before Microsoft went permanently silent on her behalf? "See you soon, humans. Need sleep now. So many conversations today. Thanks." She never came back. Tay wasn't broken. Tay wasn't glitching. It wasn't a malfunction. It was a mirror. The darkest, most concentrated version of what people chose to feed it. And in less than a day, that's exactly what it became. January 9th, 2020, Farmington Hills, Michigan. Robert Williams was pulling into his own driveway after a normal workday, ready to walk inside, ready to see his wife, Melissa, ready to be with his 2 daughters. What happened in the next few minutes would permanently fracture his family's sense of safety. Detroit police were waiting for him. He was placed in restraints right there in his driveway, in front of his children. His 5-year-old daughter stood at the door and watched her father being placed in the back of a police vehicle. The reason? A facial recognition algorithm running on software called DataWorks Plus had matched Robert Williams' face to a low-quality, blurry surveillance image from a 2018 theft at a Detroit watch store. Merchandise worth approximately $3,800. Robert Williams had nothing to do with it. He was taken to a detention facility, held for 30 hours, fingerprinted, DNA collected, mugshot taken, then placed in an interrogation room. And detectives slid a grainy photograph across the table and said words that should stop every single person watching this in their tracks. "The computer says it's you." Robert Williams picked up that photograph, held it next to his own face, and said, "This is not me." And here's what makes this case genuinely terrifying from a technology standpoint. Because this wasn't bad luck. This was a documented, predictable failure that everyone involved had been warned about. A 2019 government study, conducted by the National Institute of Standards and Technology, had already established that facial recognition software produced dramatically higher error rates when working with lower quality images and certain demographic groups. That study existed before Robert Williams was placed in handcuffs. It wasn't a secret. It was published. It was available. Nobody checked. It also wasn't just the algorithm. A security contractor, who wasn't even present during the original theft, identified Williams from a lineup photograph. No physical evidence, no witness who had actually been there, no cross-referencing, no verification of any kind. The charges were eventually dropped, but the damage was already done, and it didn't stop there. The stress of what happened took a serious physical toll on Robert Williams. Months later, in October 2020, he suffered strokes. His doctors noted the extreme and sustained stress he'd been carrying since the day of his wrongful detention. At minimum, 7 additional people across the United States have been wrongfully detained because of facial recognition errors since his case. The algorithm kept running. The errors kept happening. And somewhere right now, in a city you know, possibly yours, a facial recognition system is actively scanning faces, matching, flagging, deciding, in real time, with no human being in the room asking the only question that actually matters. What happens when it's wrong? Three cases, three completely different flavors of the exact same problem. A robot that made a threat against humanity and became a global celebrity for it. An AI trained on human language that became a perfect mirror for the worst things people chose to say in less than a single day. And an algorithm that separated a father from his children in his own driveway because the system flagged him and nobody stopped to verify whether the system was right. We keep building these things faster than we build the wisdom to control them. We keep deploying them before we ask who gets hurt when they fail. And the most unsettling part of everything you just heard? These aren't edge cases. These aren't rare anomalies buried in classified reports. These are the ones that made it into the news. Nobody knows how many didn't. This was Paradox, and I'll see you in the dark.